What's cracking, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel and thank y'all for tuning in. It's your boy Matty B, and today we got some World Supercross review from Argentina, round one that went down yesterday. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, the racing did not exactly have me on the edge of my seat, but more racing's good, especially in the off season. But we had some dominating wins in both classes. Hayden Deegan's 450 debut with a little bit of drama served up. Electric versus gas showdowns, big ass whoops, a Supercross throwback broadcast team, a broadcast that a lot of people didn't even get to watch because it wasn't working, an exciting sprint race format, and much more. There were some positives, there were some negatives, there was everything in between, and yeah, we're going to get into all of it in today's video. But before I do, got to give a huge thank you to my channel sponsors: ASV Inventions, home of the unbreakable lever; Serious Studio, who's got the sickest merch out there. If you need it, they got it; and the DesignLabCo.com. They've got some sick designs in their lab at their co, and they can take care of all your graphic needs. And if you buy from any of them, a small portion of the sale goes to me to help keep the channel going. So if you're supporting them, you're supporting me. And we got a new channel sponsor in the mix. Huge thank you to Simplify, which is an automatic booking and payment system built for solo entrepreneurs. Whether you're a moto coach, trainer, or really any kind of business where you have clients booking you, Simplify will make your business way more efficient, way more profitable, and it'll make your life way the hell easier. Go to simplify.earth to sign up and use the code MAT9509 to save. I've got all the links and discount codes in my video description, and I hope you guys enjoy. And guys, sorry about the background. I don't even know what's going on down here. I'm at my parents' house visiting for a week, and right now I'm in my parents' basement, which I say that out loud. That's pretty funny, but don't worry. I'll put some pictures up and stuff so you ain't just got to stare at this while I talk. To start off, some thoughts about the track and the location in Argentina. It was kind of like a pop-up race. You know, it was not like a big stadium or anything like that. It looks like the bleachers got brought in like the day before or something. And I saw somewhere where it said they went really conservative on the seating because they didn't know how many people were going to show up. And I mean, they got MXGPs that fire off in Argentina, so I feel like, you know, Argentina is a good market for it. They said it was sold out. I thought I saw some seats open, but as far as the track itself, very hard packed, very slippery, a huge set of whoops. I think there was like 11 or 12 of them, and they were hard packed, they were cupped, they got edgy, and definitely separated the men from the boys. I mean, watching Roczen go through there and having the old Zoot kick sideways, and he just rides out of it like nothing ever happened. A total thing of beauty, and we saw guys like Kenny crushing him. Then you saw guys like J. Coop, who usually struggle in the whoops. He even ended up going to the jump line by the end of the night. But as far as the rest of the track goes, I feel like it was pretty good. Obviously, it's not like a Supercross AMA spec build or anything like that. It's a different series, different people running it, different people building the tracks. But at the end of the day, it's still Supercross. I think there were some things on the track map that did not make it into the final product, because I did a track preview, and whenever I saw the race last night, I was a little confused at some things, but it all buffed out. Everybody had to race the same thing. I think it was pretty difficult to pass. Not a lot of different rhythm options or anything like that, although there was the long rhythm where we saw a few guys make passes before the whoops. But all in all, I thought it was a pretty cool track. I love how the finish line landing literally uses like all the dirt in Argentina. It makes for some cool whips like we saw Deegan doing, and just lets the guys throw style checks at the National while they're racing. You gotta love it. Now, some thoughts about the format. Definitely quite a bit different of a format than we're used to here in AMA Supercross. You know, here we're pretty conditioned to the heat race LCQ in Maine, but in WSX they do it completely different. They don't even have enough riders to need a heat race or an LCQ or anything like that. So they all qualify in. They get their gate pick during the day. The same gate pick is used for all three mains, which I don't really know about that. I'm sure Deegan doesn't either, but I do like the different format. I mean, it's cool to see something different than a 15-minute or a 20-minute main. You know, more gate drops is usually more excitement. I feel like those 2.8s might be a little bit too short, because 8 minutes on those tracks, there wasn't really a whole lot of time for anything to unfold, any crazy battles or anything like that. But a lot of it was probably the fact that it was Kenny and Anstie's world. Everybody else was trying to live in it. One thing that I've heard a little bit about that I am not a fan of the format is I guess they do like one free practice at the beginning of the day, and then there's like a 4-hour break until the next time they ride. I think they do like some fan fest stuff and things like that. So, I mean, if the fans are getting all access in those 4 hours, then I guess I can understand that. But I was listening to an interview with Christian Craig this morning. I think he said he even went and took a nap. So I feel like they could tighten that up for sure, because even me sitting here just waiting for live timing, I was kind of like, you know, what the hell's going on? Where are the bikes on the track? But that big break, I think they could do without that. But once you get into the night show, I love the Super Pole. Everybody goes out all by themselves on the track, does one burner lap, and usually it's for points, which I feel like would be a lot cooler, because there's at least something at stake, a little bit on the line there. But this year they took 4 to Super Pole. 3 guys leave with nothing, and the winner gets the first gate pick for the main event. So at least there is an advantage to it, but I felt like there was a lot more on the line with the points. And like I said, these races were total Sprint Cup Nationals. The first 2 were 8 laps, and then the last one was 12. And even in AMA Supercross, we've kind of become accustomed to running off of time, going 15 minutes and 20 minutes. But with these lap times being under 50 seconds or around 50 seconds, that made for some extra short racing. And then as far as those 3 mains go, it's pretty interesting. The first 2 that are shorter, they have a much smaller points payout for those first 2 mains. And then the last one, which is a little bit more full length, then you get the full 25, 22, etc. So it almost feels a little bit like SMX with the single, double, triple points. It's not the same thing, obviously, but those first 2 mains, you can win both of them, and then you get third in the final main, and that's the same amount of points as you got for both of those wins. So, I mean, if you're Roczen, you ain't really got to worry about the math. You just go 1-1-1 and crush it. But yeah, the format's tricky. It's a little bit confusing at times, but I'm at least interested. At least it's something different. And before we get into the results, we got to talk about the fiasco that was the broadcast. There was several ways, I think, to try to watch it, and from what I saw, a lot of people were having a lot of trouble with it. They were paying, logging in, and then they couldn't get onto the stream or something like that. I think WSX, they scrambled last second, and they got a free option, some live stream up there, but yeah, definitely not a great look for the first round of the series. You got all these big money guys like Roczen, Deegan, J-Coop. You're going pretty out of pocket for those guys, paying them just to show up, and then your broadcast doesn't even show them. So that was definitely one of the biggest negatives. I actually didn't have much of a problem. I don't even know what I was watching it on. But as far as the actual broadcast itself, it was decent. It showed the racing. I know a lot of you guys get all up in arms about the commentators, and maybe it's just me, but I'm just watching the racing. Every once in a while they add something I'm going to listen to, but for the most part, I'm just watching the race for the race. I'm not usually too concerned about who's talking about it. The only thing I'm a little bit bummed about is I swore that it was supposed to be Ralph Shaheen and Daniel Blair, which I think everybody was excited about. The fans were behind that one. And then last second, Jeff Emig Fro, who is a legend, like he deserves to be on the broadcast team, but it seems like last second he just swept in and just took the rug out from under Daniel and kind of forced him more into some pit reporting action. So that was a little bit of a bummer, but they did a good job. It was actually pretty nostalgic listening to Ralph say some funny stuff like light the candles. I think he made a mess in his pants when he said that the first time, but having Ralph and Jeff back, it's nostalgic. It reminds me of Supercross 10 years ago, and it's so funny with the fans. They always want what they can't have. You always heard everybody complaining about Ralph and Jeff bad, and then right when they left, then we got Lee Diddy and all them, and now everybody's talking about how they want Ralph and Jeff back so bad and this and that. So it's a pretty funny dynamic amongst the fans just listening to the constant complaints about the broadcast. But really, my only complaint is that not everybody could watch it. I think this thing needs to be a lot easier to watch. Bring it more mainstream, because if you can't even have these core motocross fans like myself able to figure it out and log in, just imagine some random guy who isn't that into motocross like we are. There's no chance he's going to sit through that and watch it. So hopefully they clean that up. But yeah, they got 1 week to figure it out before Canada. Now onto the results. We'll start with the 450 class, and with a 1-1-1 sweep at the National is Ken Roczen. My gosh, this format is tailor-made for this dude. He's a sprinter, so lights out fast in those early laps, and yeah, even the one moto, he didn't get the whole shot. He just blitzed his way right to the front, and the dude was really never contested the entire day. Won the Super Pole, won all 3 mains, and one thing I'm really confused about is I'm hearing and seeing conflicting things about whether Roczen's racing the whole series or not, and I can't understand that even a little bit. Like, you're telling me you have this high profile of a guy running your series, and you guys can't even tell me he's going to run the whole thing. And if he doesn't run the whole thing, what the hell does that say about the series? Like, it must not mean that much if you got a guy that comes out and wins some and then just says, F it, I'm not racing. So I don't know about all that. I even saw, I think it was Steve Mathis from PulpMX said something about that maybe Colt Nichols would fill in and somehow the points would transfer over. Yeah, they really lost me on that one. I don't really know, but a great night for Kickstart. He said he was sick, but I feel like him being sick is kind of in the contract at this point with the Immune System National, and he didn't let it affect him. He crushed him, and yeah, Kenny was gone. Then a second overall for J-Coop. Kind of a quiet night. I feel like you can kind of tell he was the only dude that raced all 31 races last year, because I feel like he looked a little bit flat. Nothing crazy in the aggression department. He was struggling with the whoops, which we all know is unfortunately kind of in his contract, but by that third main, he had a nice little jump line through there, which is pretty impressive because they looked like a bunch of curbs, all steep and sketchy, but a solid night for J. Coop, just cashing that check. You had to have gotten some good show-up money for this, and when they get that big show-up money, I don't even know if they get paid more based off the results or not, but I mean, if they do, just keep on stacking. Then in third overall, the highly anticipated debut of Hayden Deegan on the 450. And yeah, on paper, third overall is pretty good, especially when you consider that he got absolutely screwed with the gate pick debacle. I'm not sure what that's all about. I've never heard anything like it where you're supposed to pick your gate like an hour before and use it for all three mains. And I guess nobody told him, and he missed it, so he was stuck on the far outside in the next county all night long. But I did hear an interview, like he didn't even sound mad about it. He said it was his fault and he should have known, so good on him for that. But as far as the debut went in general, I actually feel like the result on paper makes it look a little bit better than it actually was. And the only reason I say that is because, dude, Kenny crushed him. Like, the last main, I think he beat him by like 20 seconds. And, that was maybe half the length of an AMA Supercross main. And, don't get me wrong, it's his first time racing the 450. He apparently doesn't have much time on the bike. And I feel like this was the perfect way to ease in because he doesn't have that full stacked field and a full 20-minute plus one, any of that stuff. It's just kind of, he even said it was like a vacation race, no pressure, no nothing. So it was the perfect setup for him. As far as how he looked unbelievable. He was throwing big-ass whips and scrubs and even the whoops. I feel like he was way better in the whoops than he's ever been before, but yeah, still a little bit off the top guys like Roczen and those elite 450 riders, but it seems like he's probably going to stay in the 250 class again for Supercross, hone in those skills for one more year, and then we'll see what he's got for the big dogs in SX in 2027. Or hell, maybe he'll just prove me wrong and race A1. Who knows? Fourth overall for Christian Craig, a great day for him, the beginning of a hopeful resurgence for the career. He started the day off first in the free practice, so that's always a good way to set the tone, and then main one was awesome. He got a second. He didn't seem to let Kenny go too bad. I feel like he was one of the closest people to Kenny all night, but a 5.5 in the second two mains. He just barely got edged out by Deegan for the podium, and I was really impressed with Craig because, ever since he went to Husky a few years ago, I would say it's been up and down, but it's mostly been down, and we all know how good the guy is. We all know how talented he is. He just needed to find the team and bike that he gels with, and it seems based on the on-track action and the interviews I've heard, it seems like he's found that, so great job to Christian Craig. And then in fifth, just kicking it, baby, Kmart Suzuki El Hombre. Good to see Jason Anderson back. He's been having some health issues and thyroid issues, I think he said, and I think I even saw somewhere where it said he was barely even ready to race this, so seems like he's more than likely racing his way into shape for sure, and I thought he looked pretty good on the Suzuki. He kind of threw away his podium chances with that first moto crash with Tixier, but he never quit. As always, Hombre stays digging, and he looked really good. I'm sure he's only going to get better. Then out of the top five, sixth overall for Joey Savacci. I was expecting a lot more from Joey. He's really good at these World Supercross rounds, and honestly, I think way more talented than most people give him credit for. But I think he had an incident in the whoop section in practice where I think he crashed into Freezy, or maybe even both of Starks. I don't even know, but I think he was pretty banged up, had a good first main, and then second two were kind of lackluster. I think he even had a crash in the third one. So starting out the season sixth, not super ideal, but he'll be in it for the long haul. He's doing the whole series, and watch out for Versace, dude. He could be the champ. Seventh overall for Devin Simonson, and I feel like this is the overperformance of the damn class right here. Awesome job for Devin. He's been grinding it out at Club MX. He's even lost his gut and everything. The dude's been training hard, working really hard, and he's got some great support from Club MX combined with Rick Ware Racing and Arby's. They got the meets, and yeah, great ride for Simonson. Seventh overall, and he beats guys like Brees, Moss, Aranda, Justin Hill, Politelli. And yeah, not only is the dude in the big leagues now, but he pretty much belongs there. Way to go, Devin. And then we'll run through these a little bit quicker because the broadcast didn't show much of these guys. But 8th overall for Ryan Brees. He's racing World Supercross and Arena Cross, so he's trying to be the jack of all trades, and a solid opening round for him. Then a 9th for Matt Moss. I actually didn't really know this guy was still racing, but a total legend. Good to see him still out there, and barely squeaks in the top 10. And then rounding out the top 10, we got somebody who I think is heavily underrated, Frenchman Greg Aranda. I think he had a crash or two, so that result could have been better, but this guy's super legit, especially in super pole and fast laps and stuff like that. So wasn't the night he was looking for, but I would say it's a long season. It's actually not, but he's got 4 more rounds to redeem himself. I somehow forgot to talk about him, but Justin Hill shadowboxed his way to an 11th. Then in 12th, you got Austin Politelli, and he got screwed by his crash in that last moto with the full points on the line. He went to Indonesia in the whoops, I think, with Tixier. And, result on paper, not great, but that was an amazing night from Politelli, in my opinion. The dude was right in the mix with the top dogs in that main one. Looked good all night. He even looks like he's in shape now. I think this is the first time in his life that he's really putting in 100% effort. He's always had the talent, but I think now he's got the program to go with it. So stay tuned to Austin Politelli. I think it's only going to get better from here. Henry Miller was 13th. 15th was Jordi Tixier. And then rounding out the back of the field in 14th and 16th place were the Stark Vargs. Jorge Zaragoza 14th and Freezy 16th. I don't think Freezy ever even had a shot at this thing because he had a big crash in practice. I think he's banged up, and I think he was just trying to survive the night, which I think he barely did. And then Zaragoza, he is a really underrated fast dude, also on the Stark Varg. He's from Spain, and he was in the mix quite a bit in the early bit of those motos. And he was in the mix quite a bit in the early part of those motos, but he got into a little scuffle with El Hombre, and you usually don't leave those unscathed. I think he got booted off the track right before the finish line, and definitely not a great debut for the Stark Vargs, but hopefully they can regroup, charge the batteries, and show us a little more in Canada. And now to wrap this thing up with the 250 results, a 1-1-1 for a first overall for Max Anstie. And that dude straight up looked like Billy Madison going back to elementary school out there because with the amazing talent he's got and the star bike, nobody could touch him, not even McElrath, who obviously is a world-class racer. But unstoppable night from Max Anstie. I believe he's in for the whole series, and I think he might make this thing boring because he's been uncontested so far. I'm not sure if I see that changing. But if it does change, it might come from this guy. Second overall from Shane McElrath. I think he came in not quite where he wanted to be. I know he raced the Australian series on his 250, and I think he had a little bit of a rough go over there. And being that he's an AMA 450 guy, it's obviously definitely different to drop down to a 250F, and you got to ride it different. You got to race it different. And Shane, I feel like he was on the ropes for most of the night. He was, especially that last main, he was fighting for his life with Shock, Enzo, and Colin Park. Not quite on his best form, but still to not do your best and still get a second. I'm sure you can't complain too much about that, but if he wants a piece of Anstie, he's going to have to step it up. And then a third overall on the podium for Cody Shock, Cody with a T, and this dude is crushing it. I mean, he was great in the AMA Supercross last year, he was great in World Supercross last year, and he's just picking up right where he left off, on the box, with the meets, without choice. Quiet fourth, awesome night for Cole Thompson. Didn't really see or hear much from him, but I think he's one of the best under-the-radar guys in this SX2 class in World Supercross because I think he's been in it every year, and he hasn't necessarily been making the headlines or anything like that, but the dude just keeps stacking up pretty good results, and here's another one. Fifth overall for Enzo Lopes, Vamos Enzo. He looked really good. He kind of got flustered in that last main. I thought he had the move for second on McElrath, but then Shane got him right back, and Enzo kind of fell apart on that one. Sometimes you'll have that on those bigger jobs. You get a little flustered, and you turn into a turnstile, but still they ended in the top 5. Both the Rick Ware guys are in the top 5, so a good weekend for them. Sixth for Mr. Undefeated Arena Crash Season, Kyle Peters on the Bud Racing Kawasaki. He's got to be pretty happy with that result. The dude's kind of been through it, broke his neck, and I think that's still something he thinks about while he's riding and, when he wakes up in the morning. So it was a gnarly injury, but I'm glad he's back. A sixth overall is super solid. And then this one was a heartbreaker. Woulda, coulda, and shoulda been on the podium. Seventh overall for Cullen Park. Awesome first main. Not the best second main, but then that third main, he was in the mix. He was going forward. I feel like he was actually maybe the fastest guy of that whole 2nd through 5th pack besides Anstie. And last lap, 2 corners to go, he had just gotten himself into the 3 spot. Not sure if that would have been good enough for a podium, but McElrath had other plans. Park tried to go around the outside of him. Usually doesn't work, and Shane gave him some business, put him on the ground, and it put Park back to 7th, but when you look at the riding and the potential, you got to be happy about where the dude's at. An 8th for Maxime Dupre, French Ripper, didn't see or hear anything about him, so that's that. Then a 9th overall for Stark Vargs, Michael Hicks. I'm a little confused about this one because the first and the third mains, he was pretty irrelevant. I even saw him throw a fat oppo off the finish line in the third main when he was in like 9th, but that second main, that was legit. I mean, he stayed right behind Anstie, right in the mix with McElrath. I mean, those guys are like top riders in AMA Supercross here in the 250 class, and that Stark Varg, it showed a lot of potential, and more than the Stark Varg, the rider showed what he's made of, because Michael Hicks, that dude is a maniac. He's got so much bike skill, so much talent, and he's super fun to watch. So hopefully he can get the Duracell back in the mix at the future rounds, because it's a fun dynamic to watch the electric versus gas. I mean, you never know when the electric guy is just going to deliver a silent slam and clean the guy out with absolutely no warning. And then rounding out the field, a 10th for Anthony Bourdon, 11th for Kyle Chisholm, 12th for Lance Kobush, who was also on the Stark Varg, and then 13th for Wageman, and rounding out the field in 14th, he had some crashes. He's going to his home country next weekend, but it's Noah Viney. But as for Argentina, Buenos Aires, round 1 national, that's all I got for you guys. As always, please let me know in the comments what you thought of the video. If you agree with my takes, if you disagree, if you want to hate on how I talk, if you want to hate on anything, man, we're here for it. It doesn't matter. Just hit me with some engagement. I appreciate you guys a lot. Next weekend, we got round 2 of this series coming to us from Vancouver in Canada, and we'll bring you guys as much review, preview, etc. that we possibly can. But thank you guys again for watching. Catch you next time.